this be one of the best moments of your life. You're listening to the Business Mirror Podcast for a broader look on business with Senior Editor Dennis Estopace.
Good day, I'm Dennis Estopace, and welcome to Wednesdays with John Mangun, a podcast to be anchored by John Mangun, a columnist for the Business Mirror newspaper and who operates a website titled mangunonmarkets.com. Mr. Mangun will share with us one of the many pieces he wrote for his column titled Outside the Box, which is published every Tuesday and Thursday in the op-ed section of the Business Mirror. We hope you enjoy your Wednesday with John Mangun.
Grouchy and old. Let it be publicly noted that I am not a grouchy old man. Well, actually I am. But that does not affect my analysis and outlook for the future the way you might think. It has nothing to do with the grouchy part and everything to do with the old part. History may not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. We know that this time it is different is not true. But it is true, except when it's not true. You cannot ignore the similarities between then and now. But you also must recognize the changes. That is why I wrote recently that many of the stock market truths of the past have become less valid over time. Inflation since 1958 has seen what cost $100 then would cost $897 now, for an increase of about 800%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up about 600%. So the only brilliant analysis you needed to make to have huge profits over the long term was to look at the inflation rate, sort of. What I see does not give me much confidence in the short to medium term future. The economic catastrophe of the pandemic is not as huge a concern for me, unlike others. This is because the economic collapse is man-made, and I am used to seeing man screwing things up. Further, it is self-correcting over the long term. Increasing global temperatures as well as decreasing has less to do with man and more to do with nature. Don't tell anyone I said that. I try to avoid offending anyone's religion. Global temperatures have gone through countless cycles of ups and downs, and if you lay a temperature chart against solar activity, you, not the religious, will see the correlation. The most critical man-made screw-up was the hole in the ozone layer during the late 1970s. The Montreal Protocol in 1987 banned the production of CFCs, chlorofluoride carbons, and other ozone-depleting chemicals. In 2019, NASA reported that the ozone hole was the smallest ever since it was first discovered in 1982. Last Sunday, spaceweather.com reported that Earth-orbiting satellites detected the biggest solar flare in more than 3 years. Quote, M4.4 category eruption produced a short-wave radio blackout over some parts of the Earth. The solar flare and associated coronal mass ejection were not Earth-facing. Unquote. We're at the bottom of solar cycle 24 that peaked in 2014, which followed a super peak of solar cycle 23 activity in 2001 and 2 when everybody said the Earth is burning. Now, again, we may be entering a period of increase in solar activity, which will create more warming. The point is, had that M4.4 eruption been pointed directly at Earth, quote, it would have likely been an X-class event, meaning it could have resulted in widespread radio blackouts, down power grids, and disrupted communication networks, unquote. Now look, if we are entering a new active solar period, we could have disruptions sparked by solar flares, creating massive economic damage as remote working has been kicked into hyperdrive because of the virus pandemic, and we may have strange weather into 2024. Peter Turchin is one of my go-to people on cycles. A few months ago he said that, quote, "We are almost guaranteed 5 hellish years and maybe a decade." He goes on to say, "The elites have to pacify unhappy citizens with handouts and freebies, and when these run out, they have to have police stop dissent and oppress people." Unquote. The final trigger of impending collapse, Turchin says, tends to be state debt insolvency, something I have written about many times. Now do you understand why I'm grouchy?
Thank you for listening to the Business Mirror podcast. For a broader look on business, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Business Mirror. Until next time.